Alright, I'm going to do a video here for a few minutes and talk about spark plugs. So this particular application here, these are the NGK 1085s, they're heat range 9, and this is from the Turbo Camaro. Makes like 1150, 1200 rear wheel horsepower, around 1500 flywheel horsepower. It's on E85, it's a blow through setup. And I'll show you a couple spark plugs out of it. Um, these are from two different days, but a very similar tune-up. And if you look, we'll start with this one on the right. You see the cadmium, or this ring around the outside. You can see it's burned all the way around until about there, and looks new from there to there. So that's going to show you about where your air fuel is on that outside. So we're about 3/4 of the way burned around. On this one here, I'd say we're closer to 70% burned around, just a little bit less on this one. So basically, this one is a little bit richer than this one over here. It's a little bit leaner. And I know that because this one was about 10.9 air fuel. This one was about 11.1 air fuel. And you can actually see the difference left and right on the spark plug there. Just a little bit. And then, so let's get this to focus. The outside there, that's where you're going to read your air fuel. Most engines, it's anywhere between half, I'd say on the light side, and almost one full burned ring around. So if, say, all this was burned other than about, let's set this down, get it to focus. So if it was burned all the way around like it is, but had about just about that much new left, I think that's really about perfect for me. Both of these tune-ups were pretty safe. The car likes it when just a little bit more is burned, so right about in there, where you have maybe about 10 to 15% left that's unburned. So that gives you a good reference of where your air fuel is and how kind of happy your combustion chamber is with E85 and your air fuel ratio. Now, if we look at it this way, we can see our timing mark on our strap. And it's right about almost to the bend. That's about perfect for this application. That's where this car really likes it at. And if you look, if we had any detonation, we'd see it on this porcelain. We'd see some kind of like black speckles or even aluminum speckles on that porcelain. There's nothing. It looks brand new. And that is one thing that's tricky with the 85 is the spark plugs always look brand new on the porcelain with the 85. So you don't get any good fuel rings on the porcelain, but it will tell you if something's wrong. You'll get speckling. If you look at this one, the strap burn is a little bit more forward on this one, so a little bit less timing was in this one. Between the two, there's about a half a degree difference. I did add a little bit of timing on this one, and you can kind of see it right there on the timing strap. So that timing strap, the marks move back. This timing strap, the marks move forward a little bit. It's about a half a degree difference. So yeah, just some advice there on read your timing mark on your straps, read your air fuel around the outside with the cadmium. And again, this is for an NGK plug. They do seem to read the best for me. I'm so used to these spark plugs, that's why I stick with them. Even for the Mustang, I run a 7 in that. I always just stick with the NGK plugs because they're the easiest for me to read. I'm used to reading them. I know what they do and how to read them the best. But just some things with the 85 to keep in mind is it seems to be best. Read your timing mark here, which that's true for all fuels. And read your air fuel right here at your base of the steel, right on that ring. And you can see how much new is left. If you only had halfway, you're too rich. If you had it all the way burned off, you're a little bit too lean. So just some good advice there. This is a worst case scenario and what kind of detonation and melted spark plug looks like. If you look at this plug, this is a different plug. It's from an LT1. 511 of 12. So this one actually, if you look, you see all that speckling, that's all detonation, that's all melted aluminum, and our strap is completely melted off. What had happened here, and even if you're going to go a step further, you can really see the cadmium's really burned up all the way around. So it kind of just shows you everything was wrong on that. What had happened is the nitrous fuel solenoid for that bank, so it was a fogger with 4 solenoids, so 1 fuel solenoid per side. The right side, the ground wire had actually broken off the lug, so we got no fuel to this bank on the engine, went lean, melted this spark plug, detonated, and actually melted that piston a little bit. Just wanted to show you guys what a worst case looks like, and when you know everything went wrong, that's what that spark plug's a good example of. A happy combustion chamber is going to look something like this, and you're going to have to play with it and read it and see what your engine likes, but just giving you guys an idea of what I like and what my combination likes. So there's some examples. If this helps any of you guys, or you have some more questions, let me know. I always run colder spark plugs, so a 9 in the turbo car. It's been working out perfect. The Mustang's on E85, and I run a 7 in that. You don't need to plug that cold in a naturally aspirated engine on E85. The engine's only 12 to 1 on E85. A 7's a little bit on the cold side for it, but I like the colder plugs because it gives me a little bit more of a tuning window, just a little bit, on the coldest plug I can run. So I like to run the coldest plug. It just gives you a little bit more of a safety barrier. And say we had like a 7 or an 8 in this turbo car, well, it's going to want to melt the strap a lot quicker because there's a lot more heat in that combustion chamber. So that's why I run the coldest plug I can. I recommend everyone to is find the coldest spark plug you can run without any ill effects. So the coldest plug you can run without any misfires. And I've been pretty impressed that even in the GTO at one point, I had 8s in it, and for 100 shot, and absolutely no ill effects at all, and never misfired, no problems at all. Drove it on the street like that in A. So I just like to run cold plugs. It just makes me feel a little bit more confident, and I know I have a little bit more room, but hopefully this helps some guys. Now say this spark plug, and I have plenty more, so I need to show you guys some examples of them cut, which I do have, I just don't have them with me today. Is say this spark plug was from, say the GTO, and the GTO are running just pump 93. We would cut this spark plug at the base, and then we would read the porcelain down at the bottom for the fuel ring. And that actually works really well on pretty much anything other than E85. So just like your 110s, or you're just pump 93 or 87, any of those octanes. The leaded or unleaded, just regular fuel, it really leaves a good fuel ring right at the base of the porcelain. So I like to cut the plugs on those applications and read them that way. I'll show you guys some examples of that, especially if you guys kind of comment on this and let me know you want to see stuff like this. I can go into some pretty in-depth video on spark plug reading and kind of why I do what I do. And like I said, one of the things for me, personal preference, I always stick with the NGKs. If you're using Autolite, stick with Autolites, because if you start switching back and forth between NGK and Autolite, you find that you have like a half of a, basically a half a point of heat range difference between the two spark plugs, and their heat ranges are rated a little differently. So you can kind of run into problems there. Just stick with what works for you, but my recommendation is always an NGK, and then, like I said, I run them in everything. That way it's easier for me to read them. So hopefully this helps you guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and good luck out there racing.